Just ahead, in Nepal, September saw downpours unleash death and misery. Monsoon rains triggered floods, landslides, and submerged entire neighborhoods, shops, and schools. The lack of preparedness exposed deep vulnerabilities.
Wait a minute, are you saying Nepalese politics is preventing action on climate issues?
But aid organizations say developing nations like Nepal are staring down a crisis they did not help create.
So my questions to all those polluters there, what is their responsibility? What is their accountability towards a country like us who's facing this much of disaster?
Just 2 degrees is on. Now,
where are they? Nobody was seen in the site.
when you think of Nepal, you might picture Mount Everest, the highest peak on the planet, or recognize it as the birthplace of Lord Buddha. This South Asian nation draws adventurers from all corners of the globe and holds immense spiritual and historical significance for millions. But what you may not realize is that Nepal ranks among the 10 most vulnerable countries when it comes to climate impacts. Each year, the monsoon season brings devastating floods, claiming lives, destroying livelihoods, and hindering the country's development. At the heart of this vulnerability is Nepal's lack of preparedness and adaptation to extreme weather events. In response, the Asian Development Bank has stepped in, unlocking $30 million in financing to help Nepal build climate resilience. This funding will support water and soil conservation measures to protect the landscape, including soil erosion control and improved water resource management, while also enhancing readiness in communities that are most at risk. Well, this urgent need for support became even clearer at the end of September, when torrential downpours triggered flash floods and landslides across the country, claiming hundreds of lives. The relentless waters washed away homes, shops, bridges, and plunged a third of the country's power supply into darkness, affecting thousands of people.
This was the moment police rescued a boy trapped in a landslide in Nepal's Dolakha district. But others weren't so lucky. At the time of this report, at least 200 people had lost their lives. In just 24 hours, the Kathmandu Valley recorded 240 millimeters of rain, which caused the Bagmati River, which flows through the capital, to overflow.
Nepal was not prepared for this type of huge rainfall that resulted in a huge flood, very high intensity rainfall.
Entire neighborhoods, hospitals, bridges, and markets were washed away, forcing thousands to flee.
Every year we are losing the schools, we are losing the hospitals, we are losing the bridges, we are losing the irrigation canals. The infrastructures are not, not sustainable. They are not resilient enough to withstand the disaster, despite the fact that we are suffering from such, events, such critical climate events, almost every year.
In the aftermath, many residents returned to find their neighborhoods washed away or caked in mud and debris.
Hundreds
were temporarily left without power and access to clean drinking water. Major roads connecting Kathmandu to other towns and villages were blocked by landslides.
पहिलाको अवस्थामा आउन धेरै गाह्रो हुन्छ जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ 30 वर्षभन्दा पछाडी पक्कै पनि पर्यौं हामी.
Nepal's army mobilized thousands of emergency personnel to aid those trapped. Rescuers resorted to using ropes, tubes, and shovels during their operations.
Is it a lack of resources or lack of technology? I would say that that is there, lack of technology, lack of human resources, lack of the capacity at the local level. Absolutely, it is there. But the main culprit is this lack of understanding. Main culprit is indifference. The main culprit is, the politics and the political parties and the political groups become active only post-disaster.
South Asian countries like Nepal continue to witness more intense and unpredictable monsoon seasons, with this year's rain being the heaviest in more than 2 decades.
To gauge what led to such horrible flooding and how countries like Nepal can better prepare in the future, I rang up Sujeeta Mathema. She's the executive director of ActionAid Nepal.
I mean, you see this across the world, not just with climate disasters, with the wars and the conflicts.
Yes.
We see these images, but because we see them so much, we no longer register. We no longer have the ability to be empathetic or even sympathetic to them. We might just flip to something else if we're looking at it on our phones. So before we get into exactly what kind of aid Nepal needs and whether or not it's getting it, I want to know if you think so much hitting us at the same time lends to this global desensitization of people's pain and what needs to be done to alleviate that pain.
Yeah, Reagan. Yes, I mean, we just have to name, and we have all sort of disasters going on, be it climate or be it conflict or war. We have been experiencing this, but desensitizing, I would not say yes. Yes, we have been traumatized, psychologically traumatized. We've been sick in our head, but because of my own personal value system and the way we are working, I would not say that we have become really desensitized. We have to be very aware and vigilante about everything, because in the end of the day, it's about the saving lives. It's about the humanity. It's about bringing people together to fight for the system that is not working for them.
the most important, most rapidly growing threat to human species on the planet, and that therefore this is an agenda that cannot be postponed.
How bad is the situation in Nepal? What have you guys seen?
Oh, the situation out here, like sometimes I really feel bad that Nepal, we have not contributed anything for this climate change and the impact that we are facing, just name the disaster like flood, landslides, cold waves, hot waves.
Record temperatures mean record glacier melt. Nepal has lost close to 1/3 of its ice in just over 30 years.
This is actually impacting 80% populations of this country, whereas we don't have much hands for this climate change. Even for this disaster, the flood, yes, the climate change is at top. It has to be climate change and climate-induced disaster. But the impact that facing by our community, the people who are in the riverbank living, is so bad, so vulnerable. They're out of every essentials right now, fighting for their lives. And you see, when you go to the field and when you see that people, and when you feel that you're not being able to do as much as you're supposed to do, and when the climate is supposed to be the political agenda and the political willingness is so less, that really frustrates you.
सबै बाढी पहिरो यहाँभन्दा ठुलो हुने हाम्रो के पनि छैन, यहाँभन्दा ठुलो सहन सक्ने त के पनि छैन। हामीलाई त्यस्तो आपद पर्दा पनि कसैको अब कोही त सम्पर्कै थिएन, हामीलाई उद्धार गर्ने मान्छे पनि त्यति भएन, हामी चाहिँ यही नै मर्छौँ जस्तो भयो। यो खानीको कारणले हो सर, हामीलाई सबैभन्दा ठुलो चाहिँ यो हामीलाई क्षति गराइदिएको।
We spoke with a representative of the Nepal's National Center for Earthquake Technology. And that person said that there was little to no coordination between local government and the federal government in terms of the Nepal response, the response to flooding and landslides. Did you experience the same? Are you seeing the same? Was there no help coming to people when this happened?
I would not say no help. Absolutely, Neil. I would not say zero. There are some helps. There are still going on some helps from the government side, but it's absolutely not enough at all. Not enough. And the coordination, as you rightly said, the federal, the local, and the provincial. The coordination is just messed up. There's no coordination. Government is saying like, okay, do it by one door policy. The response needs to go by one door policy. Development agencies like us try to follow the guidelines, but it will, because of all the bureaucracy processes out there, it gets delayed. So when the emergency happens and when the delays happens because of the bureaucracy, people are dying there. So that's where I was saying that this has to be the political agenda. This should be the topmost priority agenda of the government right now.
एउटा एकदम एक्सट्रिम इभेन्ट हो। मैले अघि भने जस्तै अब हामीसँग भएको तथ्याङ्कको अवधि, मौसमी तथ्याङ्कको अवधिमा काठमाडौँमा कमसेकम पनि यो रेकर्ड रेनफल भएको हुनाले यसमा र यो जुन समयमा भएको छ नि, यसबाट चाहिँ केही हदसम्म जलवायु परिवर्तनको चाहिँ भूमिका हुन सक्ने सम्भावना चाहिँ म देख्छु। तर त्यो मात्रै होइन कि यो अरू संरचनाहरूको पनि यसमा भूमिका देखिरहेको छ।
I would say the urban planning was not very done in a proper way. The population have grown up so much. The infrastructure used to cater like 10 million. Now we're 29 million. The drainage system is so bad. The population, the urbanization is so high that people have started building buildings, road construction, houses over the river banks. Right? So because of that also, there are lots of disasters are happening.
The government apparatus, the Met department, the Hydromet department, it made a forecast and repeatedly it was telling that on the 21st or 22nd, it was telling that, look, beware, the flood is coming and it's going to be a big flood. So the early warning system was there, the technology was there, the people were there for forecasting, but then there was an indifference on the part of the government. there was indifference on the part of the people also.
Can Nepal afford what just happened?
No. No, we cannot. I'm saying we cannot afford. It's, as I said earlier, Reagan, why are we facing this much of disaster? You know, there's a climate-induced disaster coming in, and the polluters who have been saying or promising the loss and damage funding, which is not coming to us, you know, the accountability is never there. So my questions to all those polluters there, what is their responsibility? What is their accountability towards a country like us who's facing this much of disaster? People are dying, people are starving. And just to tell you, Reagan, because of this flood, because of this monsoon, the landslides are there, you know, and because of the landslides, all the highways, almost all highways are blocked. And these highways are our lifelines. We import essentials from that roads. And because of that, the price has been hiked like anything. So people are not being able, even if you have capacity to purchase, because of the price hike, not being able to do that. So you know the impact, it's not just one. You know, so the climate financing has to be on the top. Why countries like Nepal needs to suffer because of all this? So whatever you say, the COP29 or the COP28 or APMCTRR that's coming up, people go there, they give the conferences, the papers, and they commit. But it never happens. The action part is lacking a lot. That's why this has to be the global political agenda. And it's not just Nepal. There's so many countries affected because of this.
The wars and conflicts that are happening in Eastern Europe, Middle East, Africa, seem to be redirecting finances and aid to those conflicts away from climate financing. Do you agree that these conflicts are really putting a stop, a pause on the help that people, particularly in the global south, need when it comes to climate disasters like what Nepal has just experienced?
That does not mean that we can ignore or deprioritize the agenda of climate. You might not see right away, right here, but the impact of climate change will bring, there's no doubt if you're not going to work right now, right here, this will have an impact in very near future. So, I mean, of course, yes.
So you think there is enough money to fund these wars and enough money at the same time to deal with climate financing?
Exactly. They do have enough money to go there, but whenever there's something responsibility towards this, they say that, okay, because of that we are not being able to. I mean, that's a lame excuses, I would say. Very lame excuses to say that. You cannot compare. I mean, yes, the needs are there. The people are struggling in the ground where the wars are happening. I totally agree on that. But these big northern countries are spending so much in this war, whereas they are not to protect the countries like us from all these disasters, you know? So yeah.
I guess a proof in that would be the recent ActionAid report that went into a lot of detail about the hundreds of billions of dollars that are being used to empower oil and gas companies in the form of subsidies.
True, that's absolutely true. You know, like we have just done the research, and that research have clearly shown us how this where's the money is flowing.
Yeah.
You know, how we are being like we're not even thinking of the existence of human. We are so much profit oriented. We're just running after money.
Has the government started doing anything to make communities resilient?
Okay, it's a very tricky question, Reagan. That's what the willingness is so important. If we get a foreign aid,
the government doesn't want to make communities more resilient.
I see that in their commitment, in their words, in their speeches, we see a lot, but we want to see in the actions as well. You know, we want the rescue team, the army team, full equipped. You know, we want local government fully equipped to be able to rescue people, to be able to, you know, manage the warehouses, you know, and also be able to bring their voices in front to make the urban settlement very resilient and all. But I see some sort of willingness because there are National Disaster Risk Management Network are there, disaster risk reduction networks are there. There are so many networks. They're trying to coordinate with each other, but somehow it's not working. The collaboration is not working because the ruling governments, if the ruling government try to do something, the opponent will have something to say on it. So that's why I said.
Wait a minute. Are you saying Nepalese politics is preventing action on climate issues?
I wouldn't. As I say, I mean, we feel it that the government is doing something in the speech and the written, but the actions are not same.
All talk, no action.
All talk and no actions. But at the same time, of course, we do not have enough budget as well to be invested to build the infrastructure in a very resilient manner. You know, all sort of things. The vulnerabilities are there, not just the climate-induced disaster. We are also, I would say, social disaster. A patriarchy system that we are living in is also making the lives of the people so vulnerable. So one, of course, we lack the budget. We lack the budget. We lack the political commitment. You know, but I see in the community, when you go to the community seems very enthusiastic. They put the paper, they put demands in front of the government and say like, okay, we need this. The government will always have that. Okay, this year we do not have budget. You know, next year we will do something about it. So those kind of things keeps on happening, and this kind of flood is not the first time.
Of course.
You know, that happened last year also, and even before last year. But the preparedness is so important. And we, like organizing like ActionAid, kept on fighting with the government, advocating with the government, lobbying with the government to have a proper infrastructure, proper system, proper mechanism for the preparedness to build. We say build back better. Are we really is the question that we are putting forward to our government as well as to the international government as well.
We need $5 trillion annually for a global ecological transition, with over $2 trillion of that specifically for developing countries.
More than 50% of my national debt, it could be directly attributed to recovery and rebuilding after a hurricane.
And that's our show. But before I leave you, Nepal is so much more than its climate struggles. It's a nation filled with natural beauty and rich culture. We leave you with a little tour of the capital, Kathmandu, on better days.